northern, western Louisiana. We've got lots of different activist, progressive groups going around. And we had dozens at one time, and we're all we're all in this in them together. You have three meetings in one day, and you see the same people every meeting.
Yeah. All right. So are you set up for video or do you want to do audio?
Oh, we can do video. I
All
don't
right.
know where to go for that.
So bottom left of your screen, there should be an option for video. Do you see that?
Um, Video. Wow. Hey,
Hey
there
there.
we are.
All right. Uh, so can you tell me a little bit, just to start off, about yourself and why you're running?
Sure, sure. So, name is Ryan Trundle. I've been activist, community organizer, uh, rabble rouser all my life, which has suited me perfectly fine, but I've always stepped up when needed. And 2 years ago, we found out Mike Johnson was not running for Congress. And know if you know about Mike Johnson, I'll tell you about him later. But he is not the most friendly person to the environment, to LGBT, uh, typical establishment Republican. So we took a shot at it. It was just a bunch of activists trying to make a difference and get our message out there, and we did pretty good. We One of our goals was not to raise a whole bunch of money, which kind of sounds weird for a political campaign. But I'm not taking any money from corporations or super PACs or unethical businesses or people. Um, so most campaigns spend about $100 per vote. We spent about 12 cents, and we got 74,000 votes, more than any other challenger in Louisiana ever, any other non-incumbent. So not too bad for a bunch of rabble rousers.
Right. So,
Um,
oh, go ahead.
oh, so the reason, I guess, the number one reason that I ran, uh, the number one message is to put people first, to raise the wage. 70% of people in this state are living paycheck to paycheck. We have more than 40%, almost 50% of people living in poverty, and that includes active duty military families. Half of them qualify for food assistance, and nobody's doing anything about it. Yeah,
Oh, geez.
we're going to when we get there.
All right. So I understand that you're running for the fourth congressional district in Louisiana, and that's the northwestern portion, right?
That's correct.
All right. And the big city there
Correct.
is
Actually,
Shreveport?
yeah, Shreveport. Can you all see the map behind me?
Yep.
It goes from that top corner there all the way down to, let's see here, Marysville, across to Opelousas, and up almost to Minden. It takes a turn around Alexandria, but it's a very big district.
All right. And as I understand, it's a fairly conservative district, and you're not quite exactly a blue dog Democrat, right? Is that the term?
Yeah, I don't think I would qualify as that. Yeah, blue, yellow. I'm not sure what it all means. Um, but we go out there, and I go. Last time I went out and just knocked on doors in the middle of the country, in the middle of town. Take my skateboard and ride up and down streets and talking to people. And I would never say Democrat or Republican. I just talk about, are you making enough money? Can you pay your health insurance? Senior citizens. Are you getting enough money with your Medicare and Social Security? And you know, everybody I talked to, we all agreed on the same things. Uh, it's funny, it's not politicians make it about Democrat, Republican, but regular people, they just care about the issues.
Right. Um, I'm not sure if something changed on your end. The video feed cut out, but it's not super important. The ideas are the
Oh,
main thing.
okay, yeah,
Um,
I can still see myself.
hmm.
Oh, well,
Oh, maybe they'll just come back in. Sometimes it's weird like that. Uh,
okay.
but I was told that you're what's considered a Justice Democrat. Is that correct?
Um, well, I mean, justice is a big thing for us. Um, I mean, environmental justice, justice for people of color. There's a lot of injustice in the world.
Hmm.
Before a campaign, I worked with the Poor People's Campaign. I don't know if you heard about that,
I have not.
which is all about justice. That it's all intertwined, really.
All right. So, if someone were, well, I guess I'm asking you, what are your top three policy priorities if you get elected?
uh, Number one would have to be raising the wage. It's something that helps absolutely everybody. Like I said, 70% of people living paycheck to paycheck, almost 50% poverty rate. We've got we've got to help people. It's too much struggle. You know what I mean? Um, and they've done studies since the 1930s when they first started having a minimum wage. And every time you raise a minimum wage, everybody else's wages go up. Rising tide lifts all boats. There's a thing called velocity of money. The more money you put into the economy, because we're a consumer economy, the more money you put in the economy, the better it does. The more taxes you raise, the more you can spend on infrastructure and things like that. So that'd be number one. Um, Number two would have to be civil rights and equality in the workplace and ending systemic racism. It's not we're not a free society when you have millions of people that have a knee on the back of their neck, can't get up, or are just statistically calculated as either jail or minimum wage workers when they're in third grade. I don't know if you knew that, but they states and the country do polls to see how many minorities attending schools in third grade, and they build prisons accordingly. It's not like they don't know; it's that they don't care. And we also have to have equal pay for equal work. When women making 70 cents on the dollar for men and African American women making even less than that is just criminal.
All right.
So that's
So,
two and three. Sorry.
right.
Three is protecting the environment. Trump keeps rolling back all these regulations and opening up Bears Ear Monument and I mean, re-legalizing asbestos. Who does that? The world's gone mad.
Yeah, it definitely seems like it these days. All right, so gonna jump into the users' questions at this point. If you guys want to ask questions, you can write them above this voice chat in Trundle questions, and you can discuss in the AMA discussion chat. So the first question we got for you was from Lil Bill. He wants to know if you support a universal basic income, and if so, in what form?
Oh, for sure. Um, so, the way technology's going, right? Everybody's jobs are getting replaced with computers and robots, and this isn't science fiction. This is happening right now, and that's just the way the future's going. So, what I would like to do for every robot that you replace a worker with, make a robot tax or a computer tax. I mean, companies are still making money off of these robots. They just don't have to pay them anything. Um, we'll take this tax and we'll use it for a universal basic income. They've done it in Alaska forever, and they're trying it in other countries too, and it's turning out to be a great thing. But and you take your robot tax, computer tax, whatever you want to call it, a universal basic income, put it into education, training people to fix the computers, fix the robots, coder schools, and things like that. So yes, I'm all for it. I don't think we have a choice. If we don't, you know, companies, most companies have no morals. They're going to go with the cheapest option, which will leave most people unemployed.
All right. And so I understand from that answer that uh, you're obviously concerned about automation. Is that right?
Oh, most definitely, most definitely. That's the way it's going. Computers or companies, corporations are always going to look for the cheapest option, regardless of the cost to humanity. And with the advancements in robotics and AI, most jobs are replaceable. I work at a auto dealership in the service department. My job's pretty much replaceable. And as things are just keep going that way. I went to Niagara Falls a couple weeks ago, ordered food through a box and paid in a box, and it spit it out a window. You
Huh.
but it's a good opportunity for us to, with universal basic income, people have a chance to say you want to be an artist, or you want to play guitar, or you know, you can pursue your arts or your cleanup, or community service. I think it'd be a huge help.
All right. Next question we've got. You might have fun with this one. Senator Libertarian Math Yoda wants to know what is one redeeming quality of the modern right wing in America?
Modern, right? Redeeming quality.
Yeah.
Oh, um, wow. Yeah, that's a tough one. The tough part is you hear people say one thing and then they do something completely different. Like, I don't know, like they say they want a balanced budget and eliminate the debt, but they just doubled it. Um, I'm all for a balanced budget and reducing the debt down to nothing. That just latest COVID stimulus cost every single person $34,000. Uh, you, me, your kids, everybody, $34,000 in future money. Of course, I only got $12,000. I don't
I
know
believe
if you all
1,200,
got
right?
$1,200. Yeah, $1,200. Sorry, I wish I got. Did you get $33,000? $34,000? Yeah.
I'm still waiting on the remainder of that.
Still waiting. Yeah, yeah. Well, it all went to billionaires. It all went to the ultra wealthy. Um, you know, I appreciate their stance on the establishment and getting rid of career politicians that do absolutely nothing but get reelected and don't help anybody on both sides, Democrats and Republicans. But of course, if you're a Republican, you only say the Democrats do it. If you're Democrat, only Republicans do it.
Mhm.
But it's all.
All right, so I guess a variation on that. This might be a bit easier. Who is someone, loosely speaking, I mean, you don't need to be a member of any party, on the left that you highly respect and someone on the right you highly respect? I'm sure with hundreds of
um,
people in Congress, there must be one Republican that's respectable.
well, Mitt Romney, he's standing up to Trump and speaking his mind. I might not agree with everything he says, but I think he's got a good heart in the big in at the end of it all. And correct me if I'm wrong. He had the model for Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. Isn't that right?
It was a little bit different, but it's similar, yeah.
A little bit different, but similar. But still, he's trying. He's trying. So yeah, I go with Mitt. I could handle Mitt. And boy, on the Democrat side, AOC and Bernie are my two favorites ever. Of course, I was a Democrat for Bernie Sanders in 16.
Hmm.
Uh, and even with everything they've done to him, he still tries. That he was a basis for a lot of us.
Right. Um, so there was obviously a lot of tension over the 2016 primaries. A lot of people thought that the establishment stole it from him. Are you of that mind?
Oh well, definitely. What's Yeah, I mean, every morning we had well, breakfast before they bust us into the convention, and the head of the Democratic National Party came in and apologized for what they did to Bernie Sanders. She wrote a book about it. It's pretty good. And they lost a court battle over it. Uh, I mean, they've admitted to it. It's not really a debate. Of course, they did the same thing this year at Super Tuesday. That was not a coincidence. Establishment tries to stay establishment. That's what they do.
All right. So, next question here. Controversial hot topic from one of our our regular members. Mike Escape
Yeah.
wants to know: would you rather fight a lion or a cheetah?
Ooh, I don't know. That's a good one. Let's see here. Well, I couldn't run away from a cheetah, but they're smaller and skinnier. I think I might be able to take a cheetah.
All right.
Yeah, and maybe they'll have Cheetos.
Right, that is the
But
figure on the Cheetos bag, isn't it?
yeah, but they don't fight fair because they're a cheetah.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, that's so bad. I mean, you need to stop me. Okay, next. Keep going.
Do you have any kids? Because that was one hell of a dad joke.
Yeah, yeah. I have two daughters. I've been practicing. Yeah.
All right. Next question we got here is from It's Robot. He wants to know, what do you think about the George Floyd protests, and how do you think Trump handled it?
Oh, he handled it, just like everything else he does, horribly. I mean, you have people out there protesting police violence, and you react with more police violence, thinking it'll get you somewhere. It's I mean, you have over 1,000 people getting killed by police every year. Was it in England last year? It was three people. I don't think any modern country had more than 10. Um, and there are no repercussions for these police officers. I know police officers. I got friends that are sheriffs and cops, and they got into it because they wanted to help people. But they also have friends that got into it because they were bullied in high school and just wanted to make themselves feel better or something.
All right.
I fully support Black Lives Matter and everything they're trying to do, and they need to keep it up and do more.
Do you have any thoughts on Chaz, or I think they changed the name, but the
Oh yeah, the old campman in Seattle.
hmm
Yeah, um, yeah. I haven't followed it too much. I heard there's some controversy with some people or something, and they're doing it. But man, when I was at University of Oregon, there's this whole community, commune. Police never went in there, and they just made sleeping bags and tents and had gardens and totally peaceful. They might even be around today. But for the most part, people can govern themselves in small doses, and I don't know.
hmm. So a lot of people have been saying that we should defund the police. Do you support that?
Oh yeah, well, I don't like. That sounds bad. Defund the police, like, oh, we're just going to fire all cops and let you know. I don't think that would work, and that's not what is meant. But when you're spending 10 times more on police than you are on schools, when policemen have tanks and automatic weapons and look like the military, and $10,000 worth of uniforms for everybody, and teachers are having to buy their own pencils. It's ridiculous. What you want to do is defund the police, say 5%, and put 5% of that into the schools, and eventually you will get to where you have educated people who don't commit crimes, who have a better economy, and there's no theft, and you don't have to sell drugs on the street to make a living. You know, it's all about transferring your priorities, building more schools instead of jails.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I've been oftentimes thrown off by it because when you hear defund, it sounds like you know end funding. But I mean, when you're talking about just a readjustment of priorities like that, it doesn't actually sound that far-fetched, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. And that's all it is just, domestic disturbances, and well, squabbles like that can be handled by social workers or moderators, mediators, and shoplifting, you really need a SWAT team for shoplifters. I don't know.
Hmm.
Of course, it all comes down to economic inequality. You don't see people with good jobs and good educations aren't out there stealing from stores and carjacking people and slinging drugs. Till you get to Wall Street, then that's another story. But
Were you? I'm sorry. Do you have any? This is a little bit old, but did you have any thoughts on Occupy Wall Street?
yeah, I was really into that. It's a shame it fizzled out so fast. I I don't know. I don't know what happened to that. Of course, that's a problem with a lot of movements. They tend to people tend to lose interest too soon, and you've got to have a sustained actions. Like Rosa Parks with the whole. She didn't just all of a sudden one day and decide to sit in the front of the bus. That was well, that was over a year of protesting, wasn't it? She was an activist, and that was just one part of it. And you gotta keep it up, keep the pressure on.
All right. Next question comes from Math Yoda again. He wants to know what your thoughts on Karl Marx and Vladimir Lenin.
I am not an expert on that. I mean, it's probably been 20 years since I read anything like any of those books. Fundamentally, I am democratic socialist, I'd say, and I don't, I don't. That's a tough one. Yeah, you like to have anonymity and individualism. At the same time, you have to take care of people and you have to support arts and things like that. So, it works and it could work and it could be great and it could be the new utopia as long as there aren't countries like the United States that once it starts going well, put sanctions on them and overthrow the government. We'll have to work on that one.
All right. So I can't verify the veracity of this, but I guess there's been at least a BuzzFeed News article about it. There's been reports that Black Lives Matter charities have been spending a large chunk of their money towards super PACs and giving it to the DNC. And apparently, one report, again, I can't verify the veracity of this claim, has said that only 5% of the donations actually are going to grants. Have you heard about this, or do you have any thoughts on this?
I have not heard. There's one called Black Lives Foundation that I've heard is just some guy in Los Angeles that wants to have lunch with policemen. But I mean, you've got to have. Personally, I think you should take all money out of politics and end super PACs and things like that. But where we're at in the game, it you do have to pay money to elect the right people. So I don't blame them for that.
Okay. So I'm hearing from that you're not the biggest fan of Citizens United.
Oh no, that's the worst thing ever. Corporations are people. Right? When have you ever seen a corporation get arrested and go to jail? And they kill people every single day. It's Yeah, we just need to end all public money in politics. I mean, and it's even worse because the people that can least afford it are the ones that need the most representation. Poor people aren't represented in Congress. They can't buy senators and representatives.
Right. Um, Speaking of finances, Lil Bill wants to know, do you support reparations?
Oh, I definitely do. Um, I don't know the parameters of that, but imagine going over to your friend's house to play Monopoly, and they all started 2 hours ago, have all the properties except for like Baltic, and they're all friends with the banker who lends them as much money as they want.
I hate those
Yeah,
guys.
that's, I hate those guys. That's
That's
what I mean. It's uh, not the best example, but I mean that's what it is like for a lot of people growing up in this country. You have a underfunded schools and parents that have to work three jobs, or even maybe just one parent that's working three jobs and can't help you with their homework, and uh, they need some help. They need some help, and it's our fault that they're like that.
right. Um, so Matthew has expanded on his question. Uh, he asks, what is your opinion on people owning their own businesses, or should they be democratically controlled? I guess, put another way, should workers have more of a say in how businesses are operated?
Oh yeah, yeah. We unions. We need to definitely strengthen and support all unions. Democracy in the workforce is should be a cornerstone of our society. Uh, I think it's okay for people to own businesses. I mean, there's a lot of people with ambitions and ideas, and you want to do that, do that. Some people don't want to do that. I hated it. Um, but I mean, there's nothing wrong with it achieving and working towards a goal and making some money. It's just when you do it and take advantage of people at the same time, that's when we need to step in.
All right. So do you support teachers' unions?
Oh, for sure. My mom's a teacher.
Do you, I guess, do you support them wholeheartedly, or do you have any reservations when you say that?
No, no, no. Wholeheartedly. Uh, but at the same time, they need to we need to empower them more, give them more power, give them more decision, um, give them more strength, because teachers are not paid nearly enough. They they need more, and they need more help. They need more help from their unions. It was 2 years ago. There's a teacher in Texas who full-time teacher, a young lady, and she died because she could not pay the copay to. She had the flu to go to see the doctor. That's pretty horrible, but that's the state of it, and it hasn't changed.
Um, this is not a gotcha as much as it might sound like one, but what about police unions?
Police unions. Um, yeah, yeah. I, I don't see anything wrong with unions in general. I mean, there's always going to be some bad apples, and but there are also good police that deserve to be represented.
All right. Tenant wants to know, Uh, what do you think about Success Academy, the lottery-based charter school in New York City? Or I guess if you're not familiar with that one in particular, charter schools in general.
Uh, there have been some charter schools that have worked out well that the students have gained advantage from. But for every dollar you're taking out of the school system to put in a charter school, that's coming out of some other kid's education. And a lot of them, a whole lot of them that are either for profit. Anytime you make a public entity for profit, you're paying more to get less, or they're religious based, which you know should not be acceptable in a public school,
Mhm.
and or they're just not always accountable like regular schools are. I I think they're taking money away from our own children.
All right. A big shift here, but Lil Bill wants to know what are your thoughts on paid maternity and paternity leave separately?
Oh, at least a year for maternity leave. Uh, Fathers, I mean, we don't breastfeed, so we can go back to work. But you still need that bonding time at least a few months. So yes, yes to all of the above. I think it's
Um,
very important.
uh, and how should that be covered? Should that be uh, paid by the employer, the government, or some kind of combination?
Um, it should be ultimately paid by the employer. I think, and I'm pretty sure that's the way they do it in every other modern country. But I mean, if you're a small mom and pop place, I could see, where there'd be some government assistance.
All right. Let's see. What do you think about the idea of a salary cap? A lot of people have said CEOs make too much money. We should have some kind of cap, either a flat amount or tied to their some ratio to their lowest paid worker. I think the common
Oh
phrase is
yeah,
1 to 20.
yeah, maximum wage. We've got a minimum wage. Why don't we have a maximum wage? It used to be 30 years ago, a CEO would make 20, 30 times of what the lowest paid worker was.
Hmm.
And now we're getting up to 500 times.
Yeah.
You see these CEOs tanking companies like Toys R Us, and they end up getting a $1 billion golden parachute, and they're still paying them trillions of dollars. It makes no sense,
I want that job.
right?
Tank a company and still get paid $1 billion to leave.
Yeah.
I remember hearing in class once about there was a CEO, I think it was of Disney, um, who was hired, and he was on the job for I think it was less than 100 days before they decided to fire him, and he got a severance package of I think it was over $100 million. It's like, geez, man, I get paid
Right,
more than a
right.
million dollars a day. I want that job.
Yeah. No accountability.
Let's see. Lil Bill wants to know what are your thoughts on democracy dollars?
Democracy dollar. What's a democracy dollar?
That was Andrew Yang's idea. I'm not sure the amount he said, but basically it was that we would change financing for campaigns and give every person a certain amount of tax dollars that they could donate towards campaigns of their choosing.
Well, that sounds good. Just voting with money. It's like voting, but extra steps. Rick and Morty. Um, yeah, I don't know. That doesn't sound bad. As long as you're taking real money out of politics, that sounds like a good idea.
All right. And sorry, this seems a little personal, but how old are you?
52.
And I feel myself a little bit old on this server, but you were dropping a lot of references that like teenagers and 20-year-olds are mentioning, and you ride a
Oh.
skateboard. Do you feel younger than you are?
I don't know. I grew up. It's a longboard. I don't ride the shortboards anymore. I don't hit the pool. I just kind of, putter around.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I don't feel any different. It might hurt more when I fall down.
Yeah.
But
All right, let's.
I grew up in California and Colorado and Wyoming, and I was always surfing or skateboarding or snowboarding or mountain biking, something.
So what brought you out to Louisiana?
Oh, I followed a girl.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah, that was 22 years ago. So it's almost like I'm a local now.
uh, let's see. Um, this person's not here. Oh, It's Robot wants to know, what are your thoughts on going to war or having more troops in the Middle East? And related, would you lower spending on the military?
Oh my goodness, yes. Man, you know how to make a terrorist? Uh, go bomb his family. It's the quickest way. How much did we spend on Afghanistan and Iraq? Like $8 trillion? No, it was more than that. Anyway, it was enough to buy everybody in Iraq a house, a car, and a nice television. The I think that would have been better than to bombing the mess out of them, right? We have hundreds of bases all over the world. The next closest is, I think, 11 bases, right? Uh, we, we should not be the world's police. We have United Nations. We should be helping people. We shouldn't be in the business of regime change and stopping socialists or fighting for oil or, you know, it, we should have evolved past this by now. Yes, definitely stop spending trillions of dollars on planes that don't even fly and boats that flip over. Uh, pay your military, your active duty military more. I had a brother-in-law that went to Iraq with Halliburton to run a gym. Like where you go and work out on an army base. Uh, Guess how much they paid him?
I'm guessing 250,000.
Oh, you're more. Well, it was 100,000 tax free,
Oh.
but yeah, still pretty good to run a gym. While you got guys, working out in that gym, making a little more than minimum wage to get shot at.
Well, if you
It's
calculate by
some,
the hours worked, it's less than minimum wage.
yeah, yeah, it's insane.
But it's
So yes,
tax-free minimum wage.
tax free minimum wage, right? Yeah, yeah. Either way, we should. There's better ways to do this, and yeah, and bombing the heck out of people and putting sanctions on them so that all their citizens are starving is not. It just makes people angrier and hate them.
Right. Um, Lil Bill wants to know, should we legalize or decriminalize all drugs, including opioids?
All drugs. I don't know. They did that in Portugal, um, and it's working out for them. You take the violence and the gangs out of it, and make it safe, and give people treatment options. Of course, this is where you need universal health care, so you can get people the help they need when they want to stop. Um, I mean, definitely marijuana and psychedelics that help with depression and PTSD and pain management, and epilepsy. Um, the war on drugs was a huge failure. So I would I don't know. I don't know if you want to sell it at the local Circle K, um, but there's definitely a better way to do it without arresting people for having for being sick or for wanting to in their depression. Was that an
Uh,
answer? Did I like work my way all the way around that thing?
no, I think it did.
Okay.
Um, so there's another question here about involuntary servitude and abolishing it. As I understand, I think there's 4 states left in the union which still have what they call them not press gangs. That's not the right word, but basically where they'll
Chain
let
gang.
chain gangs. That's it.
Chain gang,
Um,
yeah, it's part of the 13th Amendment. Slavery was not abolished. It was still allowed in the prisons. And we got it here. We've got it here big time. Um, I remember Prater. Remember when they were talking about releasing nonviolent criminals, and Prater said, "Well, then who's going to wash all my cars?" Yeah, the whole prison system's a complete failure, except for the people that profit off of it. They build these prisons and charge you $2 a minute for the phone calls and $10 for a couple of candy bars. There's a much better way to do that. So, yes.
all right. There's another hot question that's come up a lot. Is uh is a hot dog a sandwich?
Is a hot dog a sandwich? Um, Man, I'm vegan. I don't even know. Is a corn dog a sandwich? It's still bread with something inside it. I'm gonna have to say it's not a sandwich because it's still open and you put stuff on top of it. The hot dog.
Okay. But that would make
Yeah.
a corn dog actually a sandwich then.
Yeah. Yeah, I could say. Or is it a burrito
I guess it is closer to a burrito.
with a stick?
Reminds me, what's that guy's name who has jalapeno on a stick? Stand up. One of the
No,
ventriloquists.
I don't think I know this one.
Oh, all right. Well, anyways, let's see here. So what are your thoughts on abortion?
On abortion. Well, as a man, it's not really my choice. It's up to the woman whose body it is. Saying that though, we could almost eliminate abortions if we tried. There's no sex education per se in Louisiana. It's all abstinence training, which does absolutely nothing, which is why we have one of the highest rates of STDs in high schools. Um, yeah, so I would like to see nobody have to go through an abortion. I mean, it's traumatic for the women, um, and with the proper safeguards, the proper education, we could completely eliminate it. You have sex education in high school. You have free birth control, right? And you don't even have to have universal health care to do this. You can just have birth care health care. I don't and make sure every insurance company that does it until we do get universal health care covers birth control without cost. Um, Maternity leave if you do need it, which is another big factor. You're making minimum wage or not very much money. You don't have any money saved. Can't afford to take a few months off with a baby, and then when you do, you can't afford childcare. So we have to have maternity leave, and then Head Start programs and decent childcare when you have that, and that would reduce it incredibly, I think.
Uh, what are your thoughts on the Second Amendment?
Second Amendment. Well, I tell you, there are. I grew up in a lot of time in Wyoming, and it's kind of a way of life there. Of course, you grizzly bears and things that'll attack you and kill you. Um, but it is overboard. It is gone as typical in America. We've gone way over um, what is common sense. Australia did a really good thing with their buyback and reduced gun violence tremendously. That'd be a good start. And they've done lots of studies where these one thing that these mass shooters have in common is bad childhoods and no structure and untreated mental health issues. I think if we end the stigma on mental health and have everybody who needs it be able to get the care that they need, we could end a lot of this violence. Of course, it's a whole tragic theme in our country for going back hundreds of years, right? 200 years. It's wild, wild west still. So I would get if I could wave a wand and get rid of guns and bombs and everything all at the same time, I would, but it's going to be a difficult incremental road, I think. I don't know anything we could do to end it right away. If anybody else does, I'd be happy to listen.
All right. Um, you mentioned something there that brings up an issue that I've actually, to my surprise, have heard discussed a lot on here. You mentioned that I, most, or I don't know if you said all, but at least most mass shooters had troubled childhoods. One thing that's been brought up a lot here is a ban on corporal punishment within the home, namely spanking. Do you support anything like that?
Um, Yeah, I never, my parents never spanked me. I never spanked my kids. I don't think, I don't know how you'd enforce it, um, but it's definitely not a good thing. And I went to Catholic. They did a lot of it there. I definitely wasn't a fan of that either. Um, yeah, I don't see why people even do that work. Maybe that's another education thing.
All right, so we just got 5 more minutes here. Lil Bill wants to know, what are your thoughts on the death penalty?
Oh, totally don't agree with it. No ifs, ands, or buts.
Okay. Um, so a lot of people, when they say they have issues with it, they'll note, um, wrongful killings as in someone is found out to be innocent, but oops, they've been executed. Even if someone's committed a heinous crime and you know there's no doubt. I mean, if we had a crystal ball that told us, yep, he did it, um, you still would oppose the death penalty. Is that right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Killing people is just wrong to begin with. Whether the government does it or I do it or you do it, nobody should be doing it.
Right. All right. And let's see here. Uh, uh, do you favor abolishing private prisons?
Definitely. Definitely. That's a huge, huge scam. I mean, yeah, we should not be profiting. We shouldn't be profiting of it. That's not rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
That's, you know, somebody, and it really doesn't matter the crime, unless it's say, a crime of passion. There's always some underlying cause, mostly usually poverty or addiction, uh, which are not helped by finding people thousands of dollars and throwing them in a cell where they cannot make any money. you know,
Mm-hmm.
uh, yeah, we need to rethink the entire system of that.
All right. So there was another question here. I gather we already have your answer to your opinion on. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. I misread this question. Lil Bill wants to know, is cash bail turning U.S. jails into debtors' prisons? And do you favor abolishing it, referring to cash bail?
Oh, definitely, definitely. Well, I mean, the whole system is if you can afford a decent lawyer and bail, you don't get punished for anything. But if you're working three jobs and don't have time to get to the DMV to renew your driver's license and get pulled over with an expired one, put you in jail, put you in bail, and you have to pay thousands of dollars for this and $1,000 for that, and it just snowballs into getting worse and worse, and doesn't help anybody. Um, I mean, it's just like the bank 35 last year. I was just kind of off the subject. Uh, Banks made $35 billion last year on overdraft fees.
Jeez.
These people don't have any money. You charge them $35 billion. It's just insane. But it's along the same lines, If somebody can't afford something, charging them more money isn't going to help.
Hmm. All right, so with just a couple minutes left here, we recently had Shahid Buttar on. He's the guy challenging Nancy Pelosi in the primary. Do you have any
Oh
thoughts
yeah.
on Nancy Pelosi?
Uh, yeah, I think she's been there way too long and protects corporations way too much. Um, you know what? I would like to see being a congressman, being a United States representative, jury duty. Everybody has to take their 2 years. Make it like a lottery system, you know? They get these people out that have done nothing but help their own corporate interests for decades and decades. That's my thought.
All right. So last question here. When we had Shahid Buttar on, he had something really interesting. There was a way for people to sign up online to support his campaign, not only with donations, of course, but as online volunteers. Do you guys have anything like that set up or in the works?
We are working on it.
Okay.
We've got the webpage, ryantrundle.com, and we've got the issues, and there's a donation button, but it's not linked up yet. So wait until next week to do it. And then we were on Facebook and Instagram, and you can shoot me a question or give me ideas. We do have volunteer sign up on the ryantrundle.com website. Or you can just shoot me a Facebook message or Discord, whatever you want.
Okay.
It's going to be weird with this, with the corona. We're not going to be having the big rallies and the in-person door knocking. It's mostly going to be online. So we're going to need texters and callers and web people.
All right. Um, so I'm not sure. Let me see real quick if I can grab it. Your invite, edit. Okay. All right. So if anyone's interested, you can join Ryan Trundle's. Sorry, I'm being a little bit lost on my own Discord wherever I am. At the top of our server in Ping Partners, I am posting a link to his Discord server. You can get in touch with him there if you want to follow up, help volunteer, or if you have another question. Um, and if you want to send me uh, the link to your Discord, I'll post that. We've also got in announcements the link to his website. Of course, it's ryantrundle.com. Is there any final thoughts you want to give us before we close out?
There was some interesting thing. I did a little math today, and my opponent, Mike Johnson, has been in office for 6 years, has written 12 bills with the his salary, and you get $1 million for staff and offices, whatever a year. That's $700,000 per bill that he's spending of our money. A few of them made it easier to kill marine mammals. I don't know what he has against marine mammals. One was a property dispute in by Lake Bistineau by here, and the other one was to name a post office. Just $700,000 to name a post office. This is what I'm running against. I would do it for free.
And as I understand here, you've refused to take corporate or PAC money. Is that right?
No corporate money, no PAC money, no oil money. Really, we're trying to not take any money at all, but we're going to have to. Yes, we're trying to keep it ethical. Nobody's going to be owning me. I will not be indebted to anybody but the good working people of our district.
All right. All right, so we've got those links up. If you're watching this on YouTube, they'll be below in the description. Thank you again for coming on, Ryan. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. This was a lot of fun. And thank everybody who shut up and those great questions. And those were a little too easy, though, except for the hot dog one. That was still questioning that.
All right. Once again, thank you, and best of luck in your campaign.
Thank you. We'll see you around.
All right. Have a good one.
You too.